Why was Jesus crucified? This topic touches on the core beliefs and values that led to events that changed the course of history and influenced the world's major religions and humanity as a whole. When we look at Jesus, we cannot ignore the fact that he was a figure who preached the observance and fulfillment of the Torah, a way of life rooted deeply in Jewish tradition. He wasn't trying to establish a new religion, but rather to bring his people back to their roots, to the Torah and the prophets, to the path he saw as the most righteous and fitting. So with all this positive influence, why was he crucified? To understand the reason, we need to examine Jesus from two main perspectives. The first is the ideological political Jesus, and the second is the theological faith-based Jesus. These two aspects are intertwined and influence each other, but each offers a different understanding of the forces at play during his time, which ultimately led to his crucifixion. Let's start with the ideological political aspect. The Romans, who ruled over Judea and Israel at the time, were an uncompromising occupying force. They were sensitive to any sign of rebellion or subversion, and they saw Jesus as a threat to their rule. For the Romans, Jesus was not just a spiritual leader, he was a figure who could potentially lead a rebellion, destabilize the existing order, and incite the Jewish people against Roman authority. Jesus preached about the kingdom of heaven, a kingdom not of this world, but the Romans feared the talk of a new kingdom could lead to dangerous interpretations. They were concerned that if the Jewish people united under Jesus' leadership, it could lead to an open revolt, which would destabilize Roman control in the region. In their eyes, crucifying Jesus was a way to prevent a possible uprising, to silence his messages, and to maintain the political status quo. But there is also the theological faith-based aspect, which is just as crucial for understanding the reasons behind Jesus' crucifixion. The Jewish religious establishment of the time, which included the Pharisees and Sadducees, was deeply invested in maintaining its religious and social power. Jesus criticized the corruption, the religious hypocrisy, and the excessive interpretations and burdens that were imposed on the people in the name of religion. He called for a return to the original spirit of the Torah, to remember the principles of justice, mercy, and faithfulness that were at the core of the Jewish faith. The religious establishment saw these teachings as a severe threat to the existing order. Jesus challenged their religious authority, the way they managed religion and the people. He exposed the hypocrisy and distortions of the laws they created and called for a return to the simplicity and truth of the Torah. This wasn't just a matter of theological disagreement, it was a battle for power, for control over the souls of the people, and for influence over religious practice. The combination of the political and spiritual threat posed by Jesus led the religious establishment to seek a way to silence him, and they found that way through collaboration with the Romans. They understood that the Romans would see Jesus as a political threat, and thus they managed to hand him over, knowing full well that this would lead to his crucifixion. But here it's important to remember and not to make a mistake, that not all of the Jewish people were against Jesus. On the contrary, many Jews saw him as the Messiah, saw him as a spiritual guide, and even welcomed him to Jerusalem with shouts of, "Hosanna to the Son of David." They laid down palm branches before him as he entered the city, a sign of honor and hope that he would lead them into a new era of freedom and salvation. It was the religious establishment alone, that small but influential group, that brought about his crucifixion out of fear and a desire to maintain their power. So what do we learn from all of this? Jesus was an incredibly significant figure in the history of the Jewish people, a figure who has influenced millions around the world. He was a guide, a prophet of justice, and a messenger of love and hope. He deserves to be spoken of correctly, truthfully, and logically, not as an enemy of the Jewish people, but as a faithful son of his people who tried to lead them on the path of truth and righteousness. It is time to see Jesus in a positive light, as he truly was, a figure of great influence who cared for the people of Israel and sought to return them to the ways of justice, mercy, and true faith. Much like Moses or the prophet Jeremiah, Yeshua is a figure we must recognize and honor for his contributions to Jewish and world history. I hope I have shed some light on this topic. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, I invite you to share them below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.